All right, we're back here on The Truth, and we're here with Anne McGowan. And Anne McGowan has got some interesting things to talk about. She's going to be talking about obesity, correct? And what we can do, how the system is benefiting from these things. Well, I'll let you tell it better. Go ahead, Anne.
Well, first I have to start off by saying I worked as a registered nurse for years, and one of the ways the system is ripping us off is that patients would sometimes go over their bill, which is 3 pages long for 1 week. They said, what's this, what's this? I said, well, you didn't have that, you didn't have that X-ray, you didn't have this, blah, blah. So they cross off $100 worth of it, but most people didn't check it, they just go ahead and pay it.
Hidden fees, if you will.
Yes, well, made-up fees. And then also, there are many doctors who cheat on Medicare and Medicaid, and there are people at businesses that just create bills that steal from it. But my point today is really that 1 out of 3 Americans is morbidly obese, and this contributes to a lot of illness. It's a precursor to heart disease, to diabetes, which leads to retinal degeneration, blindness, gangrene.
And just in case you didn't know, and this just springboards your point, for the first time in the history of the world, the life expectancy for a man and a woman dropped. Do you know how many people have to die prematurely for the life expectancy age to actually drop a percentage point? That's pretty scary. Please, Anne, continue.
But also, all the money that America spends on healthcare, the Americans aren't living as long as people in other countries.
It all comes back to the money, Anne. Doesn't it always all come back to the money?
So now with the morbid obesity, it leads to many diseases, and then on top of that, the people are out of breath, they can't climb stairs, if they have to run for an emergency, they cannot run, they develop leg ulcers, they get bed sores if they have to be hospitalized. And I had the situation where I went to this enormous store, and I couldn't believe what I saw. I saw people in there with 3 pushcarts online, piled with these foods that I had never seen before. They were processed foods, and they're paying for it with these credit food cards. There's not food stamps, but it's credit.
I understand.
And I thought, oh my God, I said, we are paying for this, the government's paying for it, and then these people go to have gastric bypass surgery, which costs about $50,000, and they're on these heavy drugs afterward, the way that you have when you have a transplant. So a great proportion of them die, and I thought, is this genocide?
It is genocide. It's depopulation. It's all a plan. Can you imagine for 1 second if the government and all the powers that be that control the drug corporations and control the processed foods, can you imagine if they just spent 5% of the money that they make yearly on advertisements of health, on teaching young people how to eat and how to properly get the proper nutrition out of food? Can you imagine if money was actually spent on, instead of pushing a drug for every single ailment you have, from not being able to sleep to low testosterone, the list goes on. Can you imagine if that money was actually spent to make people healthier and to teach them the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle? Can you imagine if the money that's gained off processed foods actually went to farming and to making foods free of GMOs, and actually when a child walks into a school lunchroom, can actually, the food he gets is nutritious no matter what? Can you imagine if the money that they made was spent for that? But no, because that's not where the profits are. The profits aren't in that. The profits are in selling. They don't want to risk a corn crop dying. They want to manipulate it genetically and sell as much corn as they possibly can. They're putting genetically modified fish into streams so they can breed with fish to make more genetically modified fish. They pump cows full of steroids and every drug going to triple its size. Where does that food go? It goes in your stomach. It's drug-filled food, people. And it's all for money. It's what it's all about. Why carve up a 300-pound cow when you can carve up a 600-pound cow for medicine that you can get out of Mexico for pennies?
I just have to make this point that people in America demand too much in healthcare. They go into hospital, they think it's a resort. They want to be waited on hand and foot. It's
Well, you
not-
can't speak for everybody when you say that, Ann.
No, no.
I mean, that was a pretty broad stroke comment. I mean, I know that when I go into a medical facility, I'm not looking to go to a country club. I mean, some people actually go there who have actual medical emergencies that can't actually afford it and are scared to walk through those doors. So I don't know, I mean, I understand there are always exceptions to the rule, Ann, but I wouldn't broad stroke
Well, I
everybody.
mean, the non-emergency patient is just going for something ordinary.
But we don't know what the non-emergency person is actually going to the doctor for, and I'm sure I mean, listen, when you have a system, there's always going to be sponges that want to manipulate the system to try to get as much as they can out of it. You can't, and you'll never, no matter what kind of system that you come up with, there's always going to be crooks. There's always going to be people trying to take advantage of it. You're never going to be able to get rid of that, but you can minimize it.
But do you agree that the patients have to do more for themselves? It's lifestyle?
It is lifestyle, but it's not taught to them. Lifestyle is not taught. When every ad you see on television is to take a drug. When a little kid, when video games are pushed down his throat and he doesn't go out and play anymore because his parents are too busy eating Twinkies and Ring Dings and they don't want to go out themselves. It's lifestyle. It's everything that's being conveyed by the powers that be to make as much money as they possibly can to depopulate the United States and corrupt the government to instill a new world order and a shadow government to take over the country, depopulate, and 100 years from now, there'll be a new world government and everybody will be under the same regime.
But it is taught, and this gentleman talked about nutrition and so on, but it's hard to do it. And people, they don't want it, they'd rather eat the food or whatever, or not exercise and just sit around.
Anything that's easy, people will do. But if you make it not easy, then they have no choice. If I were a child now, if I could go back to being 12, and I didn't know anything, and all my friends were sitting around playing Black Ops on their Xboxes and eating whatever they're eating, I'd be doing the same thing. Because I wouldn't know any better. And I wouldn't be getting that guidance from my family because they don't know any better.
Oh, so we need more teaching.
Of course we need more teaching,
still-
but it'll never happen. It'll never happen because the powers that be that can provide that knowledge will never allow it to happen. And it's a trickle-down effect. The people that are having children now, that are in their 25-year-old range, have already been bred by the system. So now they're having children, and they're growing up on the same thing. It's a vicious cycle. There's no more people that grew up in your age bracket, that when you had to go out and play when you were a child. You had no choice. And your parents made you do it, God bless them. And you ate real food because that's all that was available. But I guarantee you this, Ann, if you were 12 years old now, you'd be doing the same thing. And it's not because you're a bad person, it's just that's all they know.
The First Lady has tried to do things to help people with nutrition by giving example with her daughters.
The First Lady's a patsy, and so is the President. And thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you being here. They're part of the problem, not part of the solution. We'll get to that in our next episode of the corrupt Republican-Democrat system. And thank you for being here. I'm sorry, she's very upset. She's walking off. Ann, I'm sorry. I'd like to take this time to apologize to Ann on behalf of me, the Truth, and all the staff. We didn't mean to ruffle her feathers. It's just, sometimes things get a little out of hand. Things got a little out of hand with Ann. But we love Ann. We want her to come back. We want her to be a regular contributor to the show. She's slamming the door as we speak. I hope we can get her parking validated. But if we can't, I apologize. We'll be back on The Truth. And Ann McGowan will be a regular contributor if she comes back. I mean, that remains.